The council chamber made Hana's head hurt. The gravity was wrong, pulling her in directions that didn't make sense. The lights flashed in patterns that made her eyes water. The air was thick and hard to breathe, even with their masks. She knew this was intentional. The aliens wanted them to feel weak and confused. "This is psychological warfare," Taman said quietly. He had trained for situations like this. "They want us to feel small." "Then let's not give them what they want," Hana said. She stood straighter and walked to the center of the chamber. Her 3 friends followed. The 12 alien representatives sat in their strange seats, watching the humans. Hana tried to understand what she was seeing. One looked like a living crystal, all sharp edges and glowing light. Another seemed to be made of flowing water that held its shape without a container. A third was just energy floating in a glass box, pulsing with different colors. "Humans of Earth," the crystal being spoke. Its voice was like breaking glass. "We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled this part of space for 3,000 years. We welcome you," Hana said. She bowed slightly, a sign of respect. "Thank you for inviting us to learn from you." The crystal being paused. It had expected fear, maybe anger, not politeness. "You are here because you have become a problem," the water creature said. Its voice was like waves on a beach. "Your species grows too fast. You spread too quickly. You change too much. We are honored that you have noticed us," Hana said. "We know we are young compared to your great civilizations. We hope to learn wisdom from you." Again, the aliens paused. They had prepared speeches about human aggression and danger. They had not prepared for humble gratitude. Sora stepped forward. "May I ask about your languages?" she said. "I study how different species communicate. Your words are so precise, so perfect. How do you achieve such clarity?" The crystal being seemed pleased by the question. "We have removed all confusion from our speech. Every word has exactly one meaning. There is no ambiguity, no waste." "Fascinating," Sora said. "And how do you express concepts that have multiple meanings, like hope, which can mean expectation, desire, or confidence all at the same time?" The crystal being was quiet for a long moment. "We do not use such words. They are imprecise." "But how do you talk about complex feelings?" Sora asked. "Love, for example, or homesickness, or the way music makes you feel." "These things are not logical," the water being said. "We have evolved beyond the need for such concepts." Wujin was studying the technology around them. The walls were covered with devices he didn't recognize, but their purpose seemed clear. Environmental controls, communication systems, defensive measures. Everything was efficient and perfect. "Your engineering is impressive," he told the energy being in the glass container. "How long did it take to develop these systems?" "These designs are 800 years old," the energy being replied. "They have needed no improvements." 800 years? Wujin sounded amazed. "The same design for so long? On Earth, our technology changes every few years. We're always finding better ways to do things." "Change introduces errors," the energy being said. "Perfection requires stability." "But what about innovation?" Wujin asked. "What about discovering something completely new?" "We have no need for new things," the energy being said. "We have achieved optimal solutions." Taemin listened to all of this and began to understand something important. These aliens weren't just trying to intimidate the humans. They were genuinely confused by them. "You seem uncomfortable," he said to the assembled council. "The gravity, the lights, the air. You've made this environment difficult for us, but we're still here, still talking to you. That troubles you, doesn't it?" "You should be weakened," the crystal being said. "You should be asking for relief from these conditions." "Why?" Taemin asked. "Because that's what other species do?" The silence that followed was telling. "When you first encountered other species," Hana said, "did they surrender quickly?" "Most species recognize superior power when they encounter it," the water being said. "They submit to avoid destruction. And the ones that didn't submit, they were destroyed," the crystal being said simply. Hana nodded. I see. So you have experience with two types of species. Those who surrender immediately, and those who fight until they're destroyed. But you've never met a species that does. Neither. Explain, the energy being said. We don't surrender because we still hope for a better solution, Hana said. But we don't fight because we believe that understanding is more powerful than violence. Impossible, the crystal being said. Understanding requires submission to superior logic. Does it? Sora asked. She pulled out a small device and began playing music. It was a simple Korean folk song, one her grandmother had taught her. The melody was sad and beautiful. What is this? The water being asked. It's a song about a woman waiting for her husband to return from war, Sora said. The words tell a story, but the music tells a different story. The melody is sad because she misses him, but it's also hopeful because she believes he'll come back. And underneath, there's something else. Pride in his courage, fear for his safety, love for her children. One song. Many meanings. All true at the same time. The aliens listened in silence. Your precise language couldn't express this, Sora continued, but humans understand it immediately. We don't need perfect clarity. We can hold multiple truths in our minds at once. Wu Jin had been examining one of the wall panels. May I? He asked, pointing to it. Do not touch our technology, the energy being said quickly. I'm not going to break it, Wu Jin said. I'm just curious about how it works. He looked closer without touching. This is a climate control system, isn't it? It's very efficient. But I see at least 3 ways it could be improved. Impossible, the energy being said. This design is perfect. Perfect for your needs, yes, Wu Jin said. But what if your needs changed? What if you had to adapt it for a different environment or combine it with other systems or fix it when parts broke? Your design doesn't allow for modification. Why would we modify a perfect design? Because perfection is static, Wu Jin said. And the universe isn't static. Things change, break, evolve. We build systems that can change with them. Taemin watched the aliens' reactions carefully. They were becoming agitated. You're afraid of us, he said suddenly. Not because we're strong, but because we're unpredictable. We fear no one, the crystal being said, but its light flickered. You don't have to fear us, Hana said gently. We're not here to threaten anyone. We're here to learn, to grow, to find our place in the galaxy. Your place is what we decide it is, the water being said. Is it? Hana asked. Let me tell you a story. On Earth, there was once a powerful empire that tried to control a small island nation. The empire had superior weapons, more soldiers, advanced technology. But the island people had something the empire didn't understand. The ability to adapt, to endure, to find hope in impossible situations. Do you know what happened? Tell us, the energy being said, despite itself. The empire fell. Not because the island people defeated it in battle, but because they refused to become what the empire wanted them to be. They stayed themselves, and eventually the empire learned from them instead of trying to control them. Humans will submit to our authority, the crystal being said, but it sounded less certain than before. Will we? Hana asked. Look around this chamber. You've made it as uncomfortable as possible for us, and we're still here, still talking, still learning. You've threatened to destroy us, and we came anyway. You've told us we must submit, and we're asking you questions instead. What does that tell you about humans? The 12 alien representatives looked at each other. For the first time since the humans had arrived, they seemed unsure. The session is ended for today, the crystal being announced. We will resume tomorrow. As the aliens filed out of the chamber, the humans were left alone. Well, Taemin said, that was interesting. They don't know what to make of us, Sora said. Their languages don't have words for what we're doing. Their technology doesn't have solutions for problems they've never encountered, Wu Jin added. And their psychology doesn't account for beings who respond to threats with curiosity instead of fear or anger, Hana finished. We're not playing by their rules. Is that good or bad? Taemin asked. Hana smiled for the first time since they'd arrived. I don't know yet. But it's definitely human. The next morning brought an unexpected change. Instead of presenting more demands, the alien council seemed confused and unsure. The crystal being, who had been so confident before, flickered with uncertain patterns of light. We have discussed your presentation, it said slowly. We require clarification on several points. Hana exchanged glances with her team. This was not how they had expected the day to begin. Of course, she said. What would you like to know? This concept of improvisation, the Vextai said. How do you prevent it from leading to chaos? We don't, Taman said simply. Sometimes improvisation does lead to chaos, but chaos isn't always bad, it's just unpredictable. But unpredictability is dangerous, the energy being protested. Is it? Hana asked. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, 2 of your smaller member species had a territorial dispute. The Zixtar and the Nelori, I believe. They've been arguing about mining rights in the Kepler 186 system for over 50 years. That dispute is under consideration, the crystal being said stiffly. For 50 years, Hana repeated. Your logical approach has been to analyze every detail, calculate every possible outcome, and find the optimal solution. But you're no closer to resolving it than you were when it started. Complex problems require thorough analysis, the Vextai said. Do they? Sora asked. She had spent the morning talking to both species involved in the dispute. I solved it in 2 hours. The council chamber erupted in sounds of disbelief. Impossible, the crystal being said. Would you like to hear my solution? Sora asked. Without waiting for permission, she activated the chamber's communication system. 2 small alien beings appeared on screen, one insect-like, one resembling a flowering plant. Hello Zixtar hive mind Kretal and Nell Ori root speaker Blossom, Sora said warmly. Would you please tell the council about our conversation this morning? The insect-like being buzzed excitedly. The human female showed us something wonderful. Instead of fighting over who owns the mining rights, we can share them. Not just share, the plant being added, its petals blooming with happiness. Collaborate. The Zixtar are excellent at precise excavation, and we Nelori are skilled at environmental restoration. Together, we can mine the asteroids without damaging the ecosystem. But the legal complications, the Vextai began, are minor compared to 50 years of conflict. Hive mind Kretal interrupted. We are already drafting partnership agreements. The human taught us something called win-win thinking. Both sides can benefit instead of one side losing. The council was stunned into silence. How? The crystal being asked finally. I listened to what they really wanted, Sora explained. The Zixtar wanted resources for their expanding hive. The Nelori wanted to protect the natural beauty of the system. Your logical approach tried to give one side everything and the other side nothing. But humans look for solutions where everyone gets what they need. This is not possible in all cases, the water being said. No, Hana agreed. But it's possible in more cases than you think. Your perfect logic only considers zero-sum games. We consider possibilities you never calculated. Wu Jin had been working on something during the break. He activated a holographic display showing the council's communication network. Your technology is fascinating, he said. But it has a problem. Each species can only communicate efficiently with others who think similarly. The Vextai can talk to the Kethvar because you're both logical, but neither of you can really understand the Morden because they think in fluid, adaptive patterns. This is known, the energy being said. It is why we maintain separate communication protocols. But what if you didn't have to? Wu Jin asked. He showed them a new system he had designed overnight. This is a translation matrix that doesn't just convert words. It converts concepts, emotional contexts, and cultural meanings. He demonstrated by having the 3 major species try to describe the color blue to each other through his system. The B, Vextai said, blue is electromagnetic radiation with a wavelength of 475 nanometers. The translation came out as, blue is the color of precision and clarity. The Kethvar said, blue is high-frequency energy that stimulates neural activity. Translation: blue is the color of quick thinking and excitement. The Mordoon said, blue is the deep flow that surrounds and supports all other colors. Translation: blue is the color of peace and stability. They're all describing the same thing, Woojin explained, but in ways that make sense to their own species and to others. Now they can actually understand each other's perspectives. The demonstration worked. For the first time in the council's history, the three major species began talking directly to each other instead of through formal protocols. This is unprecedented, the crystal being said, and its voice carried something that might have been wonder. Taemin watched all this with the eye of a strategist. You invited us here because you were afraid of human expansion, he said. But expansion isn't conquest. We explore because we're curious. We grow because we need room for new ideas. We change because standing still feels like dying. But your rapid growth threatens established territories, one of the smaller species said. Does it? Taemin asked. Or does it create new opportunities? He displayed a map of known space. This galaxy is vast. There are millions of systems that no one has claimed, planets that could support multiple types of life, resources that could benefit everyone. The galaxy has finite resources, the Vextai said. Physical resources, yes, Taemin agreed, but not creative resources, not ideas, not innovations that make existing resources more useful. Humans don't just consume. We create. We make things better, more efficient, more beautiful. Show them the music project, Sora suggested. Taemin nodded and activated another display. We've been working on this during our breaks. It's a collaborative composition system where different species can contribute their unique perspectives to create something none of them could make alone. The demonstration began with a simple melody. Then each species added their own element. The Vextai contributed mathematical precision. The Kethavar added energy and speed. The Mordoon provided flowing transitions. And the smaller species offered delicate harmonies and unexpected rhythms. The result was unlike anything any of them had heard before. It was complex but not chaotic, logical but not cold, beautiful but not simple. This is what cooperation creates, Hana said as the music played. Not the dominance of one species over others, but the combination of everyone's gifts to make something better than any of them could achieve alone, the energy being pulsed slowly. We have never created anything like this. Because you've never tried, Hana said gently. You've been so focused on maintaining what you have that you forgot about discovering what you could have. But change is dangerous, the water being said, though it sounded less certain than before. So is stagnation, Woojin replied. Your perfect systems are breaking down. The Cold War between the Mordoon and Vextai has lasted 1,000 years, because neither side can adapt their thinking. The smaller species are losing their cultural identities because they're afraid to be different. Even your technology has stopped advancing because you're afraid to risk imperfection. We are not afraid, the crystal being said, but its light dimmed. Aren't you? Hana asked softly. You rule through fear because you're afraid of losing control. You demand perfection because you're afraid of making mistakes. You resist change because you're afraid of the unknown. We have responsibilities, the energy being said. So do we, Hana replied. To our children, to our future, to the part of ourselves that dreams of something better. But we don't let responsibility become a cage. She stood and walked to the center of the chamber. You asked what humans want from this galaxy. Here's your answer. We want to explore it. We want to learn from it. We want to help it grow. And in return, we want the same thing you do, Hana said. We want to survive, to thrive, to leave something good behind for those who come after us. But we believe the best way to do that is together, not alone. The chamber fell quiet, except for the soft harmonies of the collaborative music still playing in the background. What are you proposing? The crystal being asked finally. A different kind of council, Hana said. Not one that rules through fear, but one that grows through cooperation. Not one that prevents change, but one that guides it. Not one that eliminates differences, but one that celebrates them. That is not how power works, the water being said, isn't it? Taemin asked. Look around this chamber. An hour ago, you were the ones making demands. Now we're the ones offering solutions. Which approach gave us more power? Your threats or our ideas? The aliens looked at each other, and the humans could see them beginning to understand something that would change everything. During the night break, the humans were given quarters in a separate section of the station. The rooms were comfortable but strange, with furniture that didn't quite fit human bodies and lighting that hurt their eyes. We need to learn more about them, Hana said as they gathered in her room. We're missing something important. Agreed, Taemin said. They're not as united as they want us to think. Did you see how they looked at each other when we asked difficult questions? Sora nodded. Their languages are interesting too. Each species has perfect grammar and precise words, but they can't seem to communicate complex ideas to each other. It's like they're all speaking different versions of the same logical system. That could be useful, Wu Jin said. If they can't communicate well among themselves, they might have other weaknesses too. Tomorrow, let's split up during the breaks, Hana suggested. Talk to them individually, see what we can learn. The next morning, the council session began with more demands. The aliens wanted humans to accept population limits, territorial restrictions, and technology oversight. In exchange, they offered protection and access to some advanced knowledge. It's a generous offer, Hana said diplomatically. We would like to consider it carefully. May we speak with each of your representatives individually? We want to understand how this arrangement would work in practice. The crystal being, who seemed to be the leader, agreed reluctantly. You may have 1 hour with each delegation. During the first break, Sora approached the water being, whose species was called the Morden. She had prepared carefully for this conversation. Your fluid form is remarkable, she said. How do you maintain your shape without a solid structure? The Morden flowed into a more comfortable configuration. We control our molecular bonds through conscious effort. It requires constant attention, but it allows us great flexibility. That sounds exhausting, Sora said sympathetically. Do you ever get to relax? The Morden paused. Relax, rest, stop paying attention, let your mind wander. That would mean losing cohesion. We would dissolve. Sora felt a chill of understanding. You can never truly rest, can you? You can never let your guard down, never stop thinking, never just be. No, the Morden said quietly. We cannot. And the other species? Sora asked gently. Do they understand this about you? The Morden's form rippled with what might have been frustration. They think we are indecisive because we must constantly adapt our shape. They do not understand that adaptation is our strength, not a weakness. Meanwhile, Taemin was talking to the energy being, a Kethvar representative. Your energy form must give you incredible speed and processing power, he said. Yes, the Kethvar pulsed brightly. We can think and move faster than any physical being, but you need that container to interact with solid matter, Taemin observed. You're trapped in a way. The Kethvar's light dimmed. The physical universe is limiting. We see solutions to every problem, but we cannot always implement them because we cannot directly manipulate matter. And the other council members? They move so slowly, the Kethvar said with what sounded like frustration. They take hours to make decisions that should take seconds. They waste time with unnecessary physical actions. Wu Jin was examining technology with a crystalline Vextai delegate. The crystal being was proud of their achievements and happy to explain their systems. Everything is perfectly logical, the Vextai said. Every component has been mathematically optimized. There is no waste, no redundancy, no inefficiency. Impressive, Wu Jin said. But what happens when something unexpected occurs? When a component fails in a way you didn't predict? The Vexitai's light flickered uncertainly. All possible failures have been calculated and prevented. But what if something truly new happens, something you never calculated? Such things do not occur in properly designed systems. And yet, Wujin said carefully, here you are facing humans. Did you calculate that we would exist? The Vextai was quiet for a long time. No, it finally admitted. We did not. Hana spent her time with several smaller species, beings that seemed less confident than the big three. She learned that they lived in constant fear of being absorbed or eliminated by the more powerful council members. The Morden wanted to regulate our reproduction, said a small insect-like creature called a Zixstar. They said our population growth was inefficient. The Vextai wanted to redesign our society for optimal logic. The Kethvar said our physical forms were primitive. But you're still here, Hana observed, because we agreed to follow their rules. The Zixstar said sadly, we gave up our own ways to survive. And do you think that was the right choice? The Zixstar's compound eyes reflected dozens of tiny images of Hana's face. I don't know anymore. We are safe, but we are not ourselves. That evening, the humans met again to share what they had learned. They're not allies, Taimin said. They're barely holding together as a group. The Morden and Kethvar can barely tolerate each other, Sora reported. The Morden thinks the Kethvar are impatient and reckless. The Kethvar thinks the Morden are slow and indecisive. The Vextai look down on both of them, Wujin added. They think anyone who isn't perfectly logical is inferior. And the smaller species are terrified, Hana said. They've given up their own identities to avoid being destroyed. So why are they united against us, Taimin asked. Because we're the unknown variable, Hana realized. The Vextai can't calculate us. The Kethvar can't predict us. The Morden can't adapt to us because they don't understand what we are. And the smaller species? They see us as either salvation or another threat. They're not sure which. Sora leaned forward. There's something else. None of them have words for concepts we take for granted. Hope, creativity, improvisation, love. Their languages have evolved to eliminate these things. That's why they can't communicate with each other effectively, Wujin said. They can share information, but they can't share feelings or ideas that require emotional understanding. They're stuck, Hana said slowly. Each species is trapped by their own perfection. The Morden can't rest. The Kethvar can't act directly. The Vextai can't adapt to the unexpected. And the smaller species can't be themselves. And they think the answer is to trap us too, Taimin said grimly. No, Hana said, standing up and pacing. They think the answer is to eliminate the problem we represent. We're proof that their way isn't the only way. So what do we do? Hana was quiet for a long moment thinking. Outside their window, alien ships moved in perfect formation, following routes that had been planned centuries ago. Everything in the alien world was efficient, logical, predictable. We show them what they've lost, she said finally. We show them what they could gain if they stopped being afraid of imperfection. How? By being ourselves, Hana said. By doing what humans do best. Which is? Hana smiled. Solving problems in ways no one expects. Finding hope where others see only despair. Building bridges instead of walls. Do you really think that will work? Sora asked. I don't know, Hana admitted. But it's what we have. And sometimes the most human thing you can do is try something impossible. The next morning when they returned to the council chamber, Hana looked at the 12 alien representatives with new understanding. She saw the crystal being's rigid perfection and felt sorry for its inability to change. She looked at the water being's constant motion and understood its fear of rest. She watched the energy being's rapid pulses and recognized its frustration with the physical world. They weren't conquerors or tyrants. They were prisoners of their own success, trapped by the very things that had made them powerful. We have considered your generous offer, she announced to the council. But before we respond, we would like to share something with you. A gift, if you will. What gift? The crystal being asked suspiciously. The gift of a different perspective, Hana said. You have shown us your ways. Now let us show you ours. The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. This was not how conquered species were supposed to behave, but that was exactly the point. 3 days later, the council chamber looked completely different. The oppressive lights had been adjusted to comfortable levels. The crushing gravity had been normalized. The air was clean and easy to breathe. For the first time since arriving, the humans felt welcome. But the biggest change wasn't in the environment. It was in the aliens themselves. The Vextai crystal being had dimmed its harsh cutting light to a warm glow. The Morden water being flowed in relaxed patterns instead of rigid control. The Kethvar energy being pulsed slowly and steadily instead of frantically racing. "We have reached a decision," the crystal being announced, but its voice was different now. Less commanding, more hopeful. Hana looked at her 3 companions. They had spent 3 sleepless days working with the Alien Council to create something that had never existed before in galactic history. "The Kepler Accords," she said, reading from the document they had all helped write. "A framework for cooperative galactic civilization. No more territorial disputes decided by force," Taman added. "No more fear-based alliances. No more cultural extinction. Instead," Sora continued, "voluntary partnerships based on shared interests and mutual respect. And a commitment to growth through diversity rather than control through uniformity." Wu Jin finished. The small Zixtar delegate buzzed with excitement. "Our hive mind has composed a song about it. Would you like to hear?" Before anyone could answer, the insect being began producing a complex harmony that sounded like wind chimes made of crystal. Other small species joined in, each adding their own musical traditions. The result was chaotic at first, then gradually beautiful as they learned to blend their different styles. The larger species watched in fascination. "We had forgotten that they could create," the water being said quietly. "We thought they were only capable of following." "Everyone is capable of creating," Hana said. "They just need permission to try." The crystal being turned its attention to the humans. "You have not asked for anything in return for these gifts. Why?" "Because they're not gifts," Hana replied. "They're investments. When the galaxy grows and prospers, everyone benefits. When species learn to cooperate instead of compete, everyone becomes stronger. But you will benefit most," the energy being pointed out. "Your species will have room to expand and explore." "Yes," Hana agreed. "But so will yours. When was the last time the Kethvar explored a new star system? When did the Morden last adapt to a completely new environment? When did the Vextai last calculate something they had never calculated before?" The 3 major species were quiet. "You've been so busy maintaining control that you stopped growing," Taman observed. "But under the Accords you can start discovering again. Not as conquerors, but as explorers." "The galaxy is vast," Wu Jin said, displaying a star map. "There are billions of systems we haven't explored yet, phenomena we don't understand, possibilities we haven't imagined. Instead of fighting over what exists, we can work together to discover what might exist." Sora stood and addressed the smaller species. "And you won't have to choose between safety and identity anymore. The Accords protect your right to be yourselves while also ensuring your security through mutual cooperation." A plant-like being that had been silent throughout the negotiations suddenly spoke. "We have a request." "Yes?" Hana asked. "We would like humans to visit our world," the Nelori said. "Not as conquerors or judges, but as, friends. We want to learn these things you do. This hope, this creativity, this ability to find solutions where none exist. We would be honored," Hana said. "As would we," said the Vextai crystal being, surprising everyone. "We have calculated the same problems for centuries. Perhaps it is time to calculate new ones. Our energy forms have become rigid with age," the Kethavar admitted. "We would like to learn this improvisation you speak of." "And we," said the Morden, "have forgotten how to rest. We would like to understand this concept of peace you carry." Hana felt tears in her eyes. "You don't need to learn to be human," she said softly. You need to learn to be yourselves again. We can help with that. Over the following hours, they worked out the practical details. Earth would become the galaxy's first neutral meeting ground, where different species could interact safely. Humans would establish what Sora called cultural exchange institutes, where beings could learn from each other without losing their own identities. Taemin proposed a new kind of security network where species protected each other's right to develop according to their own nature. Instead of fearing differences, we celebrate them. Instead of eliminating threats, we turn them into opportunities. Wu Jin outlined innovation-sharing programs where breakthrough discoveries would benefit everyone. When one species solves a problem, we all learn from the solution. When someone faces a new challenge, we all help find answers. But what about governance? The crystal being asked. How do we make decisions without a central authority? Carefully, Hana said with a smile. Through discussion, compromise, and the understanding that the best solutions usually make everyone a little uncomfortable, but everyone a little hopeful too. That sounds inefficient, the Vextai said, but it sounded amused rather than critical. It is, Taemin agreed. It's messy and unpredictable and sometimes frustrating, but it's also how you get solutions that no one could have imagined alone. As the formal signing ceremony began, each species contributed something unique. The Vextai provided mathematical precision to the legal language. The Morden offered adaptive clauses that could evolve with changing circumstances. The Kethvar contributed rapid communication protocols for emergency coordination. The smaller species added cultural preservation safeguards and mutual aid provisions. And the humans? They provided the thing that held it all together: hope. This is not the end of our meeting, Hana announced as they completed the signing. This is the beginning of our friendship. Friendship, the water being repeated, testing the unfamiliar concept. A relationship based on mutual affection and trust rather than power dynamics. Exactly, Sora said. It's inefficient, illogical, and completely unpredictable. It's also one of the most powerful forces in the universe. How can we trust something so unpredictable? The energy being asked. Because unpredictable doesn't mean unreliable, Wu Jin explained. Friends surprise you, challenge you, help you, grow. They're not always logical, but they're always there when you need them. Even when helping you costs them something? The crystal being asked. Especially then, Hana said. As the humans prepared to return to Earth, they were no longer the same 4 people who had arrived weeks ago. They had become ambassadors not just for humanity, but for the idea that different could be better, that change could be growth, that hope could be practical. Will this actually work? Taemin asked as they boarded the new Soul. I don't know, Hana admitted, but it's better than what we had before. Which was nothing, Sora pointed out. Which was fear, Wu Jin corrected. Now we have possibility. Their ship departed the station. They could see alien vessels from different species traveling together for the first time in galactic history. The rigid formations of the old council had been replaced by loose adaptive groups that looked more like, well, like friends exploring together. Look, Sora said, pointing at her communication display. Messages were coming in from across the galaxy. Species that had never talked to each other were reaching out. Old conflicts were being revisited with new approaches. Cultural exchange programs were being proposed. The Zixtar want to teach hive mind coordination techniques, she reported. The Nel Ori are offering ecological restoration services. 3 different species want to learn human music. And the big 3? Hana asked. The Vextai are calculating optimal trade routes for cultural exchange. The Kethavar are designing rapid response systems for mutual aid. The Mordun are, this is interesting. They're asking for help setting up rest cycles. Taemin laughed. They're going to learn to sleep? They're going to learn to trust each other enough to take turns being vulnerable, Hana corrected. That might be the most important breakthrough of all. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, Hana thought about her daughter Miso, who would be waiting for them at the spaceport. She thought about all the human children who would grow up in a galaxy where differences were celebrated instead of feared, where exploration was cooperative instead of competitive, where the future was limited only by imagination instead of by fear. We didn't win, she said to her companions. No, Taimin agreed. We all won. Together, Sora added. The human way, Wu Jin finished with a smile. Behind them, the first truly cooperative galactic civilization was being born, and at its heart was not conquest or control, but the simple, radical idea that the universe was big enough for everyone to find their own way home. The war that might have been had become the peace that would be. And it had all started with 4 humans who refused to believe that impossible meant impossible. Hana Kim stood at the window of the Earth Defense Council building, watching ships launch from the orbital platform above. The message from the Galactic Council had arrived 3 days ago, and she still couldn't believe what it said. They want to meet with us, she told Taemin Park as he entered her office. Taemin was her oldest friend and the best military mind on Earth. His uniform was crisp, but his face looked tired. They want to control us, Taemin said. He sat down and put a tablet on her desk. I've read their message 50 times. This isn't an invitation. It's a threat. Hana picked up the tablet and read the alien words again. The translation was perfect thanks to their computers, but the meaning was clear even without perfect translation. Come to our summit or we will destroy you. 12 species, she said quietly. All of them more advanced than us. All of them afraid of what we might become. Can you blame them? Taemin asked. 50 years ago we could barely reach our own moon. Now we have colonies on Mars and mining stations around Jupiter. We're growing fast. Hana nodded. She had studied human history all her life. She knew that fast growth often scared people, but she had never thought it would scare aliens too. What do they want from us, she asked. Control, Taemin said again. They want us to stop expanding. They want us to ask permission before we do anything new. They want to put limits on how many children we can have and where we can live. And if we say no, then they destroy us. Taemin's voice was flat. They have weapons we can't imagine, ships that could turn Earth into dust. They could end us in a day. Hana looked out the window again. Children were playing in the park below. Their laughter reached her even through the thick glass. She thought about her own daughter, Miso, who was studying to be a doctor. She thought about all the humans who were working, learning, growing, dreaming. We have to go, she said. Hana, this could be a trap. Everything could be a trap, she said. But if we don't go, we'll never know what they really want. Maybe we can find another way. Taemin was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. You always think there's another way. There usually is, Hana said. We just have to find it. 2 days later, Hana stood in another room with 3 other people. Sora Lee was the best language expert on Earth. She could speak 12 human languages and had learned to understand alien communication patterns. Wu Jin Choi was an engineer who understood both human and alien technology better than anyone. Are you ready for this? Hana asked them. No one is ready for this, Sora said. She was young, maybe 30, with bright eyes and quick hands. But we'll learn as we go, that's what humans do. Wu Jin nodded. He was older, with gray hair and careful movements. I've studied their technology for years, it's impressive. But it's also predictable. They build things the same way every time. They don't take risks. What does that mean for us? Taemin asked. It means they might not understand us, Wu Jin said. They expect us to act like them. Logical. Predictable, but we're not like that. Is that good or bad? Hana asked. I don't know yet, Wu Jin said. But it might be our only advantage. The ship that would take them to the summit was called the Bo, New Soul. It was Earth's newest diplomatic vessel built for long journeys and peaceful meetings. It had no weapons. That was important. The aliens had made it clear that any armed ship would be destroyed before it reached the meeting place. As they prepared to leave, Hana's daughter Miso came to see her off. Be careful, Mom, Miso said. She hugged Hana tightly. Come home safe. I will, Hana promised. Take care of your father while I'm gone. I will. Mom, do you think they'll listen to you? Hana looked at her daughter's worried face. I don't know, sweetheart, but I have to try. If we don't try to talk to them, we might never get another chance. The journey to Kepler 442b took 2 weeks. The planet was far from Earth, in a system that humans had never visited. The aliens had chosen it because it was neutral territory. No species had ever claimed it or lived there. During the journey, the 4 humans prepared for what they might face. Sora studied alien languages and culture. Wu Jin analyzed alien technology reports. Taemin planned for different scenarios. Hana read philosophy books and thought about what it meant to be human. What makes us different, she asked the others one evening as they ate dinner together. We're unpredictable, Taemin said. They don't like that. We're emotional, Sora added. Most alien species have logical languages. They don't understand feelings the way we do. We improvise, Wu Jin said. When something breaks, we fix it with whatever we have. When we face a problem, we find a new solution. They seem to do the same things the same way for centuries. We hope, Hana said quietly. Even when things look impossible, we hope for something better. Do you think that will be enough? Taemin asked. I don't know, Hana said, but it's what we have. When they finally arrived at the meeting place, Hana felt her heart skip. The alien station was huge, bigger than any human city. It floated in space like a metal moon, covered with lights and strange shapes. Ships from 12 different species surrounded it, each one different from the others. It's beautiful, Sora whispered. It's terrifying, Taemin said. It's both, Hana said, just like everything else about this situation. As the new soul docked with the station, Hana felt the weight of what they were about to do. They were 4 humans about to face 12 advanced alien civilizations. They had no weapons, no advanced technology, no great fleet to protect them. All they had were words, ideas, and the hope that somewhere in the vast universe, wisdom might matter more than power. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Beyond it waited the unknown. Ready? Hana asked her team. Ready, they said together. Hana took a deep breath and stepped through the doorway into the alien station. Behind her, 3 other humans followed. Ahead of them waited the most important conversation in human history. The corridor beyond the airlock was strange. The walls curved in ways that hurt to look at. The lights were too bright and the wrong color. The air tasted different. Even through their breathing masks, everything was designed to make humans uncomfortable. They're trying to throw us off balance, Taemin whispered. I know, Hana whispered back. Let them. We'll adapt. We always do. As they walked deeper into the station, alien beings watched them from doorways and alcoves. Some looked like crystals that moved. Others seemed to be made of water. A few appeared to be pure energy in glass containers. All of them studied the humans with expressions that might have been curiosity, fear, or hunger. At the end of the corridor, a massive door opened to reveal the council chamber. It was circular with 12 seats arranged around the edge. In the center was a smaller area with 4 simple chairs for the humans. Welcome, said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. You may begin whenever you are ready. Hana looked at her 3 companions. Taemin stood straight and alert. Sora's eyes were wide with fascination. Wu Jin was already studying the alien technology around them. Thank you, Hana said to the unseen voice. We are ready to listen. But as she spoke, she was already planning. Not for surrender, not for defeat, but for the conversation that might just save humanity and change the galaxy forever. Before we discuss your offer, Hana said, let me tell you about my grandmother. The alien council members shifted in their seats. This was not what they had expected from a diplomatic negotiation. Her name was Yoon Suk, Hana continued. She lived on Jeju Island when I was young. During her lifetime, powerful forces tried to control her people. They had superior weapons, advanced technology, and vast armies. They could have destroyed the island at any time. The crystal being interrupted. This is not relevant to our discussion. Isn't it? Hana asked. These powerful forces gave my grandmother's people the same choice you're giving us now. Submit or be destroyed. And do you know what she did? Silence. She kept cooking traditional food, even when it was forbidden. She sang old songs, even when they were banned. She taught children stories, even when such stories were considered dangerous. She didn't fight with weapons, she fought by refusing to forget who she was. And? The water being asked. Despite itself, the powerful forces eventually left. Not because they were defeated in battle, but because they realized they couldn't destroy something that lived in people's hearts. My grandmother taught me that the strongest walls aren't made of stone or metal. They're made of hope, memory, and the stubborn refusal to become something you're not. Sora stepped forward. May I demonstrate something? She asked. Without waiting for permission, she began to speak in a mixture of languages, switching between Korean, English, and the alien tongues she had learned. What are you doing? The Vextai demanded. I'm using language the way humans do, Sora explained. Watch. She repeated the same sentence in 3 different ways. The first was purely logical, like the aliens preferred. The second included emotional context. The third used metaphor and multiple meanings. The logical version tells you what happened, she said. The emotional version tells you how I feel about it. The metaphorical version tells you what it means. All 3 are true. All 3 are necessary. Inefficient, the Vextai said, but it sounded uncertain. Is it? Sora asked. She turned to the Mordun delegate. Your people are constantly adapting, changing shape to meet new needs, but you do it alone, each individual managing their own form. What if you could share that burden? She demonstrated by teaching the Mordun a simple Korean lullaby. The song had words, but it also had rhythm, melody, and emotional undertones. I don't understand, the Mordun said. The words tell a story about a child going to sleep, Sora explained. But the melody carries the mother's love. The rhythm matches a heartbeat, which makes the child feel safe. It's not just communication. It's emotional support shared across time and space. The Mordun's form rippled. You mean others can help carry the burden of consciousness? Through art, music, stories, yes. You don't have to hold everything together alone. Meanwhile, Taemin was addressing the Council's security concerns. You think humans are dangerous because we're unpredictable, he said. But let me tell you about a crisis we faced on Earth. He described the Apollo 13 space mission when an explosion nearly killed 3 astronauts far from Earth. By your logical calculations, he told the Vextai, they should have died. The ship was damaged, supplies were limited, time was running out. What was the optimal solution? There was none, the Vextai admitted. The situation was impossible. Exactly, Taemin said. So instead of accepting the impossible, we did something you've never learned to do. We improvised. He explained how engineers on Earth and the astronauts in space worked together to build new solutions from broken parts. They used duct tape, plastic bags, and cardboard to create life support systems that had never been designed. It was inefficient, Taemin said. It was illogical. It was imperfect. And it worked. The energy being pulsed rapidly. But how did you know it would work? We didn't, Taemin said simply. But we knew that doing nothing would definitely fail. So we tried something, and when it didn't work, we tried something else. We kept trying until we found a solution. That's chaos, the crystal being protested. No, Taemin said. That's creativity, that's hope. That's the refusal to accept that impossible means impossible. Woojin had been quietly working with a broken alien device he'd found in the chamber. While the others talked, he had disassembled it, studied its components, and begun rebuilding it. Your technology is impressive, he told the council. But it's also fragile. Look. He showed them the device, which was now working again, but in a completely different way. What did you do? The energy being demanded. I fixed it, Woojin said. But not by replacing the broken part with an identical part. I used components from other systems to create a new solution. It works better now than it did before. Impossible, the Vextai said. The original design was optimal. Optimal for the original purpose, Woojin agreed. But I changed the purpose. Now it does 3 things instead of 1, uses less power, and can repair itself if it breaks again. He showed them how he had created redundant systems, adaptive functions, and modular components that could be recombined in different ways. This is how humans think about problems, he explained. We don't just fix what's broken, we make it better. We don't just use what we have, we imagine what we could have. But that introduces variables, the crystal being said. Unpredictability. Yes, Wu Jin said cheerfully. That's the point. When you can't predict what problems you'll face, you build systems that can adapt to any problem. Hana watched the aliens absorbing all of this information. They were confused, fascinated, and frightened all at once. You want us to accept limitations, she said, to follow rules that will make us predictable and safe. But let me ask you something. When was the last time any of your civilizations discovered something truly new? The council was silent. When was the last time you solved a problem you'd never faced before? When did you last feel surprise, wonder, or joy? More silence. You've achieved perfection, Hana continued. But perfection is the end of growth. You've eliminated risk, but risk is what drives discovery. You've removed chaos, but chaos is where creativity comes from. Chaos leads to destruction, the water being said. Sometimes, Hana admitted, but it also leads to life, to art, to love, to the kind of breakthrough that lets 3 humans survive in a broken spaceship millions of miles from home. She looked around at all 12 representatives. You're afraid of us because we represent something you've forgotten. The possibility that there might be a better way, a different way, a way you haven't thought of yet. We have considered all possibilities, the Vextai insisted. Have you? Sora asked. She began singing again, this time a song that had no words, just pure melody. The sound filled the chamber with something the aliens had no name for. What is this? The energy being asked. It's beauty, Sora said. It serves no logical purpose. It doesn't solve any practical problem, it just is. And it makes life worth living. We don't understand, the Morden said. But its form had become more relaxed, more fluid. That's okay, Hana said gently. Understanding isn't the only way to appreciate something. Sometimes you can just feel it. For the first time since the negotiations began, the chamber was quiet, not with tension, but with something approaching peace. What do you want from us? The crystal being asked finally. Nothing, Hana said. We want to give you something instead. What? A choice, Hana said. You can continue as you are, perfect and unchanging and alone, or you can take a risk, learn something new, grow. And if we choose not to? Hana smiled. Then we'll leave, and you'll never see us again. We won't fight you or threaten you. We'll just find our own way in the galaxy. That's all? That's all, Hana confirmed. But I think you're curious now. I think part of you wants to know what you might discover if you stepped outside your perfect systems. The aliens looked at each other, and for the first time, the humans could see uncertainty in their expressions, uncertainty and something that might have been hope.